Have you ever wanted to just hear that sweet exhaust note coming out of your F30 with an N55 engine? Just to hear these crackles and burbles coming out of the tailpipe, just like this? Because in this episode, we're going to be installing a downpipe on my F30.
I'm JP, and here I do car reviews, car mods install, mod reviews, and pretty much anything in between. So if you like that kind of content, consider subscribing and joining the community. This is Driving Production.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Driving Production. To start off, let's take a look at what we'll need to do this downpipe install. So to start off, obviously you'll need a downpipe. This particular downpipe is from VRSF, and it is a fully catless downpipe. One thing to notice for the BMWs, my BMW 335 is a 2012. So it's the first year of the F30. That year all the way to halfway through 2013, they use a, I think 3 or 3.5 inch outlet on the downpipe, and after that it's a 4 inch. So that's something to consider, because the downpipe is actually different for different years. So just make sure you get the right one for your correct car. I got this gasket for the end of the downpipe here. This gasket, I couldn't find it anywhere else but at BMW. This is the part number for it. The other thing, I'm not gonna be running a tune right away for the 335. So for now, so I don't get a code, well, I'm hoping not to throw a code with this. I just got a O2 extender that I'll be installing too on the downpipe. Hopefully that works. Some people see mixed results, so we'll see how it goes with this one. Another specialty tool that I just got this off Amazon, is some E-Torques. There's a few E-Torques involved to remove some of the bolts for the exhaust.
I also got some socket adapters for my drill. And finally, I used the O2 socket to get the sensors out. First thing I'm doing is jacking up the car from the subframe in the front. Then, I secure the front by putting some axle stands underneath the side jack points. Then I'm moving to the rear to lift the car from the diff and sliding some ramps underneath. With the hood open, I'm now removing the engine cover and insulation behind it. That gives me access to both O2 sensors plug that I now disconnect. It's a good idea to mark them in some way so you don't switch them when reconnecting them. Now I'm removing the front passenger wheel so I'll have better access to the downpipe later on. With the help of the 1/4 inch socket adapter, I can remove all 20 of the 8mm bolts holding down the belly pan. Using penetrating oil, I spray the bolts holding down the downpipe and let it sit while I remove both 8mm bolts holding the brace. I can finally start removing the downpipe itself by removing the 16mm bolt holding the lower V-band. And that's exactly why it's important to get a new V-band before starting this. Using some extension and a 13mm socket, I can now remove the bolt holding the top V-band. Since this V-band was stuck, I had to pry it gently with a pry bar to get it loose. Then I can move to the bracket holding the downpipe and remove both 13mm nuts. This is when the E-Torques come into play. I'm removing the mid-exhaust hanger by unscrewing the E10 bolts. With some play in the rest of the exhaust, I have more room to slowly lower the OEM downpipe. Once it's removed, I'm removing both E-Torx E18 bolts from the hanger that held the downpipe, since the new VRSF downpipe is way lighter and isn't held by it.
Alright guys, so I'm pretty excited. I finally got the OEM downpipe off the car. It took a little while. Honestly, the worst thing about this job is probably just how awkward it is to be underneath the car. If I had access to a hoist, or even if you have access to a hoist, I definitely recommend it. It makes the job so much easier. It'd probably cut the time in half, especially just because you gotta fit some tools in some weird areas, and it just takes a bit of a while to get access to certain things. So that's pretty much it. Let's just compare both downpipes, and then take the O2 sensors off the OEM, put them on the aftermarket VRSF downpipe, and install it on the car.
First, I'm installing my O2 extension. Then, with both downpipes side by side, I can transfer the sensors over to the new one. After I've fed an old coat hanger from the top, I'm taping the O2 wires to it so I can easily pull them up later. From here on, it's basically the reverse process of removing the OEM downpipe. Now I'm installing the Catless VRSF downpipe and securing it by putting the top V-band and slightly tightening the 13mm bolt, leaving it loose enough that I can still rotate the downpipe. With the downpipe somewhat in its place, I'm pulling the O2 sensors, wires, and connecting them back to the engine harness. Back under the car, I'm reattaching both E10 bolts holding the exhaust hanger. With that done, I can move to installing the new V-band on the lower downpipe, and like the top one, I'm not tightening the 16mm bolt too much. Now I'm moving back to the top, where I'm making sure the downpipe is well seated to the turbo and tightening the 13mm bolt holding the V-band in place. And finally, I'm tightening the lower 16mm bolt.
Alright guys, so I'm super excited. Finally the downpipe is installed. I just tightened everything should be good. The car is still on jack stand and on the ram, just because I want to start it up, make sure nothing's leaking, and then from there I'll just finish by putting up the belly pan if everything is good. But for now, I want to do the first startup, see how it sounds, cold start, and go from there. So let's see how it sounds. So honestly, just after the first cold start, it's still, I guess the car's still warming up a little bit, but honestly not too much of a difference. Just at start, it's a little bit deeper, a little louder, but just at idle right now, can barely tell the difference on just the overall how high the volume actually is. I'm just gonna go take a look at how the if there's any leaks or anything like that, and then we'll drop the car on the ground.
In the meantime, what do you think is the best mod to do on the F30 platform? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think.
So I just went to take a look to see if there was anything leaking from the downpipe or anything. It kind of looks like there's nothing leaking, so I'll just finish everything up and put the belly pan and put the last few pieces together, drop the car, and that's pretty much it. In the meantime, the car warmed up a little bit, so I'll just give it a few revs to see how it sounds. That's in normal mode, and if I go into sport, honestly not too much of a sound difference. I'm kind of surprised. It doesn't sound that much louder, so it's kind of a neat thing. Honestly, I'm pretty happy. Maybe under load it might be louder. We'll have to see about that.
Finally, all that's left to do is to reinstall the brace with the two 8mm bolts and the belly pan by putting back the 20 8mm bolts.
Alright guys, so I'm really excited on how things turned out for the downpipe. Everything's finished. I put back the belly pan and the downpipe is all installed. I gotta say I'm pretty surprised on the noise level. I really expected the car to be way louder, but it turned out honestly for the better. I personally think that it's just a little deeper and the sound is a little bit higher, but really it's not a huge increase honestly, and it's still the Catless downpipe. So I was pretty happy with that kind of result. Just to give you guys a quick comparison on how the car sounded before and after, I shot a few videos of the exhaust system so you guys can compare. And that's pretty much it guys for the video today. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing, giving this video a thumbs up, sharing it with your friends, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.